One crucial part of detailing that's often missed is distilled water. So distilled water is going to be super important for any detailer because one, it's what you're going to mix all your chemicals with. So you get a nice clean chemical solution that's diluted and will last without having any water contaminants such as calcium or sulfur that leave behind water spotting or degrade the chemical over time. They won't be in distilled water, and that's why usually people are going to have either distilled or deionized water that they always mix their chemicals with. One thing that's kind of annoying about distilled water is it's not always that easy to come by. It's kind of hard to make yourself. You have to buy it at a store perhaps, and it costs money, and every gallon is like $1 that you're spending just to mix some chemicals. I just wanted to make sure I was in the shot and all that. This lens, I got a different lens because it's a little bit wider angle and probably a little easier to capture stuff, but I'm not used to it knowing if I'm in the shot or not quite yet. When it comes to actually making it yourself, there are plenty of good ways out there. Usually you would buy like some kind of machine, which is what I have, and you can make 1 gallon at a time. Because I'm running kind of a smaller business, I don't really need to do more than maybe 2 gallons in a day of having distilled water to mix with chemicals. And so with the machine I have, I could probably make 3 gallons a day of distilled water, and that's more than enough. Really depending on how much chemicals you're making and stuff, this might apply to you. But for those of you who maybe want to look into doing your own distilling, this is what I'm here for. So I've got this little distilling machine. It's by a brand called Vivor, and this is a pretty generic distiller. You don't have to get it from this brand. You can get it just about anywhere. Although I don't know what the original model or part is. It's most likely from China in some fashion because it's a pretty cheap distiller. It's like $70 after using the electricity and your own water costs, and this being $70. I think it's like if you make 250 gallons of water or something like that, then the cost will even out. Someone did the math there, not me though. And I think I have the number wrong. So you'd probably just want to look it up yourself. If you're using a lot of distilled water long term, you're actually going to save money. And I've made probably 20 gallons of water or so. That's probably a little bit on the heavy end of distilled water from this machine. And I haven't had any problems with it. It all goes really well. You just set it and leave it, and then it does its thing. So it's really easy to use. Yeah, I think it's a very nice distilling machine for those who want to just get into mixing chemicals. If I show you what's inside, basically it's just a big container. There's some scum at the bottom. That's all of the minerals inside of the water that when you distill it, they just end up sitting at the bottom of the container, and then they kind of turn into this crust at the bottom. It could be lime scale, it could be calcium. There's all sorts of iron and different hard minerals inside of water, and that's what gives it its flavor. But it also makes mixing it with chemicals not optimal, because the chemical can leave things like water spotting, and then it could also reduce the effectiveness of the chemical. It's a really simple contraption. So this is the base, and what it does is it heats up. It's got 2 plugs in the back and a power switch. It's got this button in the front here, which this is just how to start the cycle. So it'll heat the water until the machine gets too hot, which means that there's not enough water to absorb the heat, and then it will shut itself off. All it does is it warms up this basin, and the water will then evaporate and cling onto this top area here, and some of the water will then drip from this top bar onto this little faucet capture here and just fall out of this funnel through the top. The funnel, you can add a little bit of a charcoal bag. I don't know if I have one in here or not. If you want to have the flavor be kind of delicious or something like that, I don't know how it works. The charcoal will make the water taste different. If you use it for drinking, that's on you, but I'm just using it for distilling chemicals, so I don't really care what it tastes like. You just have this little container sitting right under it, capturing the water, and then it will fill up. It's exactly 1 gallon on this container, and 1 gallon that goes about 1 gallon that goes inside of the distiller. So it's a very easy process to do yourself at home. Maybe I'll distill a little bit of water for you guys just to show you what it's like. But I gotta mix a few chemicals first. I did just distill recently, but I wanted to also make a video about it, so kind of failed and didn't record that one, but we're here now. So let me mix some of my chemicals that I have, and we'll get some water distilling for you guys. Alright, so lucky for me, I was able to use up almost all of the gallon. Maybe got like a quarter tank left. I'm filling up my tank maybe about like 75% of the way. There is a full line where you stop filling. If I fill it up too much, then what's going to happen is this container is going to overflow. Doesn't have to be precise. I'm just kind of doing it off the cuff here. So I'm just going to throw the top on. In the back, there's a plug. It's got that plugged in. And then there's another plug that I'm just throwing into the back. And then I'm plugging it into the wall. So there's 3 components that gotta be plugged in. And then all I'm doing is I'm taking this little thing. This is how it was supposed to be used in the picture, I guess. So just like shields random stuff from flying it, I don't know. And then you turn it on. And so now when I press this button, it's gonna start the cycle, and we'll just do it. So you can see the fan started. That means it's cooling down the water at the top so that it condenses and falls in that little drip tray. And after a certain amount of time, we'll start seeing water forming in here. And when that happens, I'll bring you guys back. Woo! The air coming out of here now is like pretty hot because the heat with the steam rises and then it hits the plate, radiates the heat through these fins, and then this fan blows it all the heat out and sucks up some nice cold air through the fins down here. It's a pretty cool little system. Probably price has gone up. It takes about like 4 hours usually, I noticed, to distill 1 gallon. Maybe it's a little longer, but I'm not usually paying attention to it while it's doing its thing. Highly recommend that if you're going to be doing a lot of distilling, whether it's with chemicals or for whatever reason you need it, maybe you just need clean drinking water, then this is definitely a good solution, and it's very reusable. And after using it enough, you will actually have saved money, which is good, because you don't want to buy something and then keep losing money on it. Very simple and easy to do. I'm just gonna leave this, let it do its thing, and then probably come back and it'll be all done. I basically picked up my own distiller after I bought my first gallon. It was like $1.30 for a gallon of distilled water, and ever since then I just use that container as a storage container now for more distilled water. Yeah, so that's how you can make your own distilled water. So let's talk about like a little bit like why it matters that you can actually do your own distilled water. The reason it's beneficial to make your own distilled water versus just going to a store and buying some is that you're gonna experience cost savings after distilling enough water, and it will take some time to get to that point. If I look at the price of a gallon of distilled water, so on Walmart's I'm getting a reading of 1 gallon being $1.22. So if I take the price of maybe the 20 gallons I've generated, that'd be $2 or $20 and $24.40. If I was doing a lot more work and doing and needing a lot more chemicals, then I'd have made money not by now. But this whole system costs like $70 some. I'm also using electricity for 4 hours, and I'm also using X amount of water, 1 gallon of water. So there's those costs associated. My light just died from having no battery left. Over time, you will actually save money. Just got to really see how long this thing lasts. And so far, it's been great. No issues with it. Does the job and gets me some nice clean water to mix with. So yeah, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. No BS behind it. Pick up yourself a little distiller and experience the greatness. Makes you feel like you're one step closer to being independent. Makes you feel like you're doing something right in life because you're making your own way. Huzzah. One thing that I did forget to mention about the distilled water is that it's the same principle as a DI water system, which is deionized water, where it goes through a bunch of membranes to basically extract certain minerals or contaminants in the water that could give water spouting on your car. So you're basically doing the same thing, but just for the chemicals you're mixing, and that's why distilled water is useful and good. And good for detailing or just really any chemical work. All right, 1 bucket army. Later. I love you guys.